Hello, dear listener. Join us as we embark on a gentle journey to a time long past, where we will drift among the waves and sunlit shores of the Caribbean, exploring a day in the life of a pirate. As you settle in, take a moment to subscribe and share in the lovely tradition of our community. If you feel inclined, write in the comments where you are listening from, perhaps at home on a cozy evening or during one of those early morning hours. Let us all remember that there is something wonderfully soothing about history. It cradles us gently in the arms of time, encouraging us to rest. Imagine waking up in a modest bunk below deck, the gentle rocking of the ship lulling you from dreams wrapped in the embrace of the sea's rhythm. The air is thick with the salty tang of the ocean, mixed with the earthy scent of old wood and tar. The sounds of the crew begin to fill your ears, muffled laughter intertwined with the creaking of the ship's hull. Light begins to filter through, flickering like candlelight against the uneven walls, illuminating the space where adventure awaits. As the day begins, you might rise from your quarters in a haze, rubbing the sleep from your eyes. On a pirate ship, the morning routine is a simple one, yet filled with purpose. There are no leisure breakfasts among fine china. Instead, rough hands grasp at hardtack and salt pork, the staple fare for those who roam the ocean. You might notice the texture of the hardtack, a stale kind of bread designed to withstand the test of time, crumbling to earth like dust upon the first bite, while the salt pork has a chewiness that speaks of preservation. Now you stand on deck, perhaps with a broad-brimmed hat to shield you from the sun's rising warmth. The Caribbean sky is painted in hues of pink and gold, a sight that could inspire poets, or at least keep pirates entertained before the day's business begins. The call of gulls tires not, and there is a constant cacophony of nature all around. You might close your eyes for a moment, taking in the gentle sway of the ship, the calls of your fellow crew members mixed with the soft splashes of the waves against the hull. As the crew gathers, there's a sense of camaraderie, a unique bond formed over shared plights and numerous nights at sea. Together, you might share tales of past adventures, each more embellished than the last, crafting legends of your own making. Sometimes, it feels less like work and more like a stage play where everyone plays their part. The work of swabbing the deck becomes a dance, and the sails hoisted high are the wings that bear you to glory. Here, laughter rings out like the peal of a bell, punctuating the mundane. Perhaps, now you hear someone recount the tale of how Captain Blackbeard supposedly struck fear into the hearts of sailors, though some would say he was just as frightened of the rats that scuttled about the ship. Pirate life has its share of struggles, but humor is often the lifeline that keeps a crew afloat, much like the ship itself. After the morning routines, you might gather to discuss the day's venture, each member appointed with their tasks. Some will scour the horizon for merchant ships, others will patrol below deck, ensuring everything runs smoothly, while a few are assigned to repair the sails or mend nets. The work demands attention, but there's joy in movement, in the shared effort, and the satisfaction of completing a task that earns you your keep. As the sun climbs higher, the air grows warmer, enveloping all of you in a humid embrace. The scent of the ocean mingles with the perspiration of hard-working men, the salty breeze sometimes carrying hints of something sweeter, perhaps the distant promise of land. On such days, the anticipation of sighting a friendly island grows, for there is much more than treasure to be found hidden among the palm trees. And speaking of palm trees, let us envision what it might be like to take a break on a secluded island for a moment. When the call finally arrives, and the lookout points out land, a hush falls over the crew. Suddenly, the promise of rum and respite seems very real. You might land your sturdy vessel on a soft sandy beach, where the gentle murmur of the surf contrasts perfectly with the rustling palm fronds above. As you step ashore, a different world stands before you, the colors vibrant, the air denser with sweet aromas, mingling with the fresh scent of coconuts. Perhaps soon you would feast on tropical fruits plucked from trees, banishing the hardtack to memory, if only for a brief moment. There's something serene about the dance of a gentle breeze, and the laughter of crew members could almost convince you that you are in paradise, if paradise weren't forever out of reach. After moments of well-earned leisure, it is surely time to remember the world outside your secluded sanctuary. The day's work often included taking stock of any plundered goods from a recent expedition, a reminder that such triumphs come with their own challenges. Society often framed pirates as fearsome, pillaging the high seas, but in truth, life on the ship required an awareness of the tides, an understanding of one's ship, and delicate negotiations with fellow crew members. Your shipmates joke about the irony of staggering back on deck with aching backs, seeking ways to transport and conceal the wealth you've acquired. A weathered map holds promise, and the conversations may turn to distant shores where riches and misfortune intertwine, each tale cloaked in the light of an evening sun. Amidst the seriousness of survival, there's always a small nod to peculiarity. Perhaps you'll hear whispers of a mythical sea creature that will surely appear once the sun dips below the horizon, a delightful distraction from the labor ahead. And as the sun sinks low, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and red, evening rolls softly in like a comfortable blanket. As the lanterns are lit, casting a warm glow over the deck, there's an air of contentedness among the crew, a gratitude found in the camaraderie of clinking mugs of rum. Together, you might recount the day's endeavors, weaving tales of bravery and folly until the stars begin to twinkle above like diamonds scattered across black velvet. In quieter moments, you may find yourself gazing toward the endless horizon, letting your thoughts drift beyond the waters. There is safety in numbers, laughter exchanged, hardships endured. But there is also the knowledge that the life of a pirate is never devoid of peril. As romantic as it may seem, days often end with weary bodies and tired minds searching for solace as they settle in once more below deck. It is in these tender hours that you recall the comforts of a warm bed, a direct contrast to the makeshift beds below, with their thin linens and lingering smells of salt and sweat. Your thoughts might drift to the remarkable fact that even the finest of pirate tales could never overshadow the simple enjoyment of a hot bath or the pleasure of spying a familiar face among the inviting comforts of home. Just think, when you fall asleep tonight, you'll rest knowing you possess a pillow, a marvel not known to those who sailed the rough seas seeking legends of fortune. So drift with me now, into the night, where the gentle sound of the waves resonates peacefully in our hearts and minds. While pirates may have roamed the sea in search of gold, perhaps the real treasure is found in the simple acknowledgement of dust settling upon dreams, as the world glides quietly into slumber, comforted in the knowledge that tomorrow holds nothing but more adventures and soft, soothing rhythms of history yet to explore. The voyage through the greater tapestry of life continues, and so we shall remain here, beneath the drifting stars, surrendering wholly to the embrace of the past, where adventures await us in the gentle lap of the waves. The morning sun rises lazily over the horizon, casting soft light across the deck of the ship, filtering through billowing sails. As the light spills onto the wooden planks, it creates a warm glow, gently awakening the soft sounds of the Caribbean morning. The rhythmic lapping of the waves against the hull becomes a familiar lullaby, coaxing slumbering crew members from their dreams. There is a serenity in this awakening, the salty breeze carrying with it a blend of sea air and the distant, unmistakable scent of gunpowder from the muskets stored nearby. As a pirate slowly stirs, his senses come alive. The air is filled with a tangy freshness, invigorating yet comforting, a reminder that another day of adventure awaits. The sounds aboard ship begin to shift as shipmates wake, some stretching their limbs amidst the cramped quarters while others lean over the side, letting the cold water splash against their faces. Voices arise in a chorus of hushed whispers, shared laughter, and the occasional gruff command, as crewmates ready themselves for the day ahead. Personal items are gathered, knives, flint, and pieces of eight, each carefully attended to, like treasured relics. Before long, the scent of breakfast graces the air, a hopeful promise of sustenance and warmth. As the crew makes their way to the galley, the simple ritual of cooking begins. Dried fish crackles merrily over the small flame, its aroma mingling with the stale bread that has long been on board, its past glory reduced to a chewiness that only the most seasoned of sailors would tolerate without a faint grimace. Ah yes, the delights of culinary expedience. In this tight, cozy space, the creaking timbers of the ship groan gently as the galley rocks with the ship swaying. The close quarters cultivate camaraderie, it's where tales are spun and laughter shared. An exchange of jovial banter as each pirate claims his share, grinning as they dig in with worn hands. Despite the unrefined meal, spirits run high among these men, buoyed by the rhythm of the sea and the promise of adventure that lies ahead. Outside the galley, gulls cry out, adding to the symphony of sounds that captures this moment, blending with the gentle lapping of water. Once bellies are full, the preparations for the day's work begin in earnest. Grooming takes precedence. Pirates are a scruffy lot, but they hold fast to certain rituals, as keen to maintain their appearances as a king surveying his realm. A makeshift mirror, a small piece of polished metal, reflects faces weathered by the sun. One might see a man laboriously attempting to shave with the razor edge of a cutlass, a practice that carries both danger and necessity, for sharp instruments are revered among pirates. As morning unfolds, the ship stretches in anticipation of the day's adventures. The sound of rigging being pulled tight punctuates the atmosphere. The snapping of sails flapping in the ocean breeze creates an invigorating music of its own. The vibrant colors of sunrise paint the sky in rich oranges and deep purples, a canvas that reminds the crew of the beauty to embrace even amidst their rough lives at sea. There's a tangible excitement in the air as the pirates discuss the possible routes and ventures of the day, their voices animated yet grounded, a shared understanding simmering beneath their jests. Today might herald fortune. Or perhaps folly. The winds whisper secrets of ships that sail nearby, laden with goods ripe for the taking, and the camaraderie shared in these moments fosters a bond stronger than any gold. As the sails are hoisted, the wind bursts forth triumphantly against the ship's hull. Each sailor feels its embrace, the rush of air across their faces is liberating, a signal that the day's journey has commenced. The creaking of wood is accompanied by the sound of ropes straining against the weight of the sails, as though the ship herself breathes alongside her crew. The prospect of searching for vessels to plunder ignites sparks of adventure within each heart, casting aside any trepidation about the dangers that lie on the open sea. In this scintillating vastness, the shimmering beauty of the ocean unfolds before them, the ripple of the waters reflecting sunlight in millions of tiny diamonds. The horizon stretches endlessly, a promise of thrill and discovery awaiting each courageous heart willing to brave it, enveloping all in spontaneity. Yet beneath the bravado, there lies an understanding among the crew. Life aboard a pirate ship is about more than just gold and glory. It is about community, trust, and the shared weight of hopes and dreams. Together they navigate not only the vastness of the Caribbean waters but also the complexities of their lives as outcasts in a world that has often turned against them. Among the crew there exists an informal hierarchy, where each rower knows his place yet celebrates moments of levity, where the youngest might claim the crow's nest while seasoned hands command the steering wheel. Rum-fueled superstition swirl among tales of ghosts and past plunders, instilling a belief in luck that runs deep within the fabric of their lives. Shared rituals emerge, a drink of rum before delving into the potential chaos of a skirmish, a toast to fortify bonds and defy fate. In the hush of the ship, they exchange stories, each legend colorful and grand, swelling with the spirit of adventure. A nod to Blackbeard's audacity or the cunning of a well-famed captain spins through conversation, embedding a sense of pride and hope within the crew's hearts. For it is in these tales that they find solace, courage woven into the threads of their shared history, uniting them against the spectre of isolation. As the sun climbs higher into the sky, the life of a pirate awakens fully, igniting a daily cycle of labor, laughter, and a relentless pursuit of fortune. While some may view the world through a lens of disdain for such reckless abandon, the crew revels in their unique existence. They find joy not just in their boundless freedom, but also in recognizing the beauty of this crafty life afloat amidst challenges that most would fear. They embrace a life of exile with laughter raucous enough to echo across the waters. Now drift alongside these spirited souls into the thriving hub of Nassau, the pirate haven that stands as a beacon of disorder and opportunity. A microcosm of the Caribbean where cultures meld together beneath the raucous understanding that life on the fringes can be exquisitely vibrant. The ship bustles with a gentle energy as the crew takes to their morning grooming rituals. Sunlight begins to filter through the sails, casting soft shadows that dance across the wooden deck. It is here amidst the creaking of timbers and the soft lapping of waves that pirates ready themselves for another day, a day filled with uncertainty and, perhaps, gold. Grooming on a ship does not boast the luxuries of a comfortable restroom or fragrant oils. Instead, these rugged souls employ whatever tools lie at hand. Picture a rough-hewn mirror propped against a barrel, its glass marred with salt and grime. A pirate may grasp a long-handled cutlass, its blade shiny yet not quite polished, and with a flick of the wrist, carefully shave away the stubble from his face. Perhaps there is a chuckle shared over a poorly executed trim or the sight of a shipmate struggling to maintain a semblance of dignity despite the lack of a proper comb. The gentle tugging of wind pushes the sails, resonating melodiously through rigging like whispered secrets, a comforting contrast to the early morning calm. Calls for assistance from those managing the sails blend into the crisp air, a reminder that even in the quiet hours, music of labor lives among the crew. As the crew members meticulously adjust their attire, they cling to the familiar leather vests, patched trousers, and caps that bear the salt-worn insignia of their voyages. Footwear varies, but most prefer to feel the cool wooden deck beneath bare feet, hardening them against the rigors of pirate life. The smell of cedar from the ship mingles with the brisk salt air, an olfactory embrace as the day warms. Each crewman takes a moment to stretch, offering his limbs a gentle wake-up call, a ritual that feels almost sacred as they prepare for whatever fate awaits. Mornings on board a pirate ship are lively, punctuated by lively banter and laughter that rise above the sounds of the ocean. Shipmates tell tales of yesteryears, of great storms they survived and the bountiful treasures they've snatched from the unsuspecting. Each laugh is a bond formed, a stitch in the fabric of their unique brotherhood. This is a rare moment before the day pulls them into its demanding embrace, a time for levity, camaraderie, and hope. The sun is now climbing steadily in the sky, heralding the arrival of breakfast, an event that, like every aspect of pirate life, is wonderfully informal. Pans clang against the stove in the cramped galley, where the silhouette of the cook becomes a theatrical performer, flinging and flipping dried fish, the mainstay of their morning meal. The aroma wafts through the ship, a blend of salty fish and the ever-present scent of stale bread, both staples that have become comfortingly familiar. Once cooked, the crew gathers, commandeering their usual places at the rustic wooden tables. They lean into one another, forging shared bonds over meager rations. A dialogue of discontent mingles with humor as they dissect the fish, each bite reminding them of life's fleeting pleasures and the perils that lie just beyond the horizon. What seems stale and forgotten to an outsider is a reminder of past victories, a sustenance earned through swift sailing and sheer bravado. Through the ship's portholes, the sounds of gulls call out, their cries punctuating the air while eager waves lap at the hull. These avian creatures are unyielding in their quest for scraps, much like the pirates themselves, ever on the hunt for spoils in a world that seems to offer little by way of grace. The blending of the land's wild nature and life at sea reminds them that they are part of something larger, a band of outcasts united by choice and circumstance. As breakfast winds down, the excitement of the day ahead beckons ever closer. A conversation stirs in the corners of the ship, growing from mere whispers into boisterous predictions of the ventures the crew may encounter. This morning ritual, akin to an ancient rite, helps clear the cobwebs from their minds, instilling a collective sense of purpose that no land-bound man could possibly understand. The sails flap lightly in anticipation, teasing the crew as they make their way back to their tasks, a resonating reminder that the world outside waits for no one. Gradually, the morning transforms from a peaceful reverie into a determined focus. Pirates begin preparing themselves for the day's labors. They adjust their hats, ensuring that every thread and stitch remains just so, all the while casting furtive glances towards the horizon where opportunities may lie. Mornings, however fleeting, grant these pirates a momentary retreat before plunging headlong into the dogged work on the ship. Groomsmen take on different roles, some checking the rigging, others hoisting sails while sharing a laugh about how one uncle used to claim the depth of the ocean held no bounds. The environment is rich with possibility, filling brave hearts with a sense of excitement as the sun begins to peek from behind scattered clouds. From the crow's nest, a lookout shouts, eyes sharp as daggers, scanning for sightings of merchant vessels ripe for plundering. The ship sways gently on the undulating waves, its crew steadying themselves as they embrace the winds of fate. As sails unfurl against the rising sun, the thrill of adventure tumbles forth, filling the air with whispers of fortune. Freedom envelops them, the very essence of a life upon the sea, a life that intertwines responsibilities and dreams. Ropes snap taut, and the intertwined sounds of men working in synchronicity resonate, like a spell of unity sweeping through the calm seas. And gradually, like a delicate sea breeze evolving into a tempest, the anticipation for the day heightens, searching eyes dart back and forth, promising every moment could hold the key to treasure or trouble. The crew, strong and determined, hums their shanties, voices stitched together in camaraderie. Their minds are vivid tapestries of legendary horizons and the unquenched thirst for adventure, a collective heartbeat pulsing against the backdrop of endless, shimmering ocean. In the stillness of the mid-morning air, one might almost dream that life could drift along like the steady current of water beneath the ship, soothing and eternal. Yet, the world of pirates is never one of pure tranquility. Their daily lives are colored with the complex beauty of uncertainty, skimming the surface of danger while casting depths of dreams into the surf. And so, with the day's labors unfolding, one cannot help but appreciate the stark nature of a pirate's existence, a striking juxtaposition to the comforts of modern life. As you drift off tonight, let it be known, there are no pirates sizing up your possessions, despite what commercials may tell you. You can rest easily, unlike the rugged souls of the Caribbean, forever on the horizon of adventure. The ship catches the wind, and the sails unfurl in glee, reaching out to the skies above. The pirates, hands calloused and strong, work with the ropes, laughter and shouts mingling with the wind that dances playfully about their faces. Every pull, every knot is steeped in ritual, a routine as fluid as the waters upon which they sail. The sun glints off the salt-streaked wood, illuminating faces hardened by sun and sea yet bright with anticipation. As they hoist the sails, they feel the welcome caress of the wind, a sweet reminder of freedom, a guardian blessing bestowing miles of open ocean and uncharted territory. The sun rises higher, unfurling its golden rays, washing across the deck like liquid sunlight. And what a glorious sight it is! The vibrant hues of the skies reflected upon the glassy surface of the water flicker like the shimmering layers of a precious gem. Unearthly calm prevails in this moment before the day truly begins, where hopes are spun like a sailor's yarn, and dreams can drift far beyond the horizon. But, of course, there is work to do. Seagulls wheel overhead, their cries echoing like ancient curses mingling with wild laughter, a reminder that nature is both friend and foe in these untamed waters. Each man takes his place, moving with an ease that speaks of familiarity, bonding them deeper than blood, united by shared moments of toil and triumph. The creaking of the ship's bones sings on an age-old tune, accompanied by the slap of water against the hull, providing a comforting rhythm to their labor. As the sails billow full, the ship gains momentum, slicing through the waves with a grace that belies its brutish guise. Mystical tales of treasure-filled horizons mingle with the gentle spray from the ocean. Adventure awaits with every heave and pull. They are searching, always searching, searching for the distant silhouette of a merchant ship, for the telltale glimmer of gold buried within the shadows of the sea. And along with it, the promise of excitement flows like a tide, pushing them ever onward. While the thrill of plundering unfurls like the sails above them, a strange dichotomy fills their hearts. For within that anticipation lies a shadow, a whisper of danger, a knowledge that each moment on the sea is woven with unpredictability. Will fortune favor them today, or will the weight of the ocean bear down like an anvil? A smile here, a somber glance there, the life of a pirate is a tapestry of contradictions. So, amidst the laughter and camaraderie, there's an underlying current of focus, of dreams of glittering spoils swirling through their minds. The ship sails toward the horizon, leaving the chance for plunder beckoning from the depths, as thoughts of distant shores rise like mists from the sea. Here, on this vessel, the bonds of brotherhood tighten like a well-tied knot, each soul intertwined in a complex dance of ambition and uncertainty, bound by the sea and the fate that awaits them. As they engage in their work, shouts of encouragement and the rattle of barrels provide a comforting backdrop, a kind of sea shanty, an echo of dedication that gently reminds them of their individuality within this motley crew. Every hand contributes, every whimsical laugh is a thread in the communal fabric woven on the deck. Through the wear and tear of daily labor, through the sun-bleached days and moonlit nights, they carve out their existence a breath at a time. And while the pirate's life encompasses the lure of freedom, in these moments, they find the roots of kinship tethering their spirits to one another, as they shepherd the ship across the azure canvas of the Caribbean Sea. Far from the stench of war and the clamor of the land, the pirates breathe in deeply, the salty air filling their lungs, the only true riches they can completely call their own. The stakes are high, yet in the span of that labor lies a sweetness, a satisfaction that is often overlooked, camaraderie, shared trials, and a purpose echoing across the surface of a boundless sea. As the ship sails onward, painting its path in foam and spray, a momentary respite blooms within the rigging of their hearts. Above them, clouds float past like remnants of fading dreams, and beneath them, the darkened abyss of the deep ocean whispers of secrets they may one day unearth. For now, though, they strive forward in unison, crashing against the rippling waves, the essence of their shared journey captured within the sails of a life unchained. So let us drift along with these daring souls, wrapping ourselves in their legacy woven within the gentle embrace of the sea. In the quiet aftermath of the morning's labor, let us be reminded of the stillness that underlies their restless spirits. After all, as we lay our heads down tonight, remember that your biggest task after a long day's work may simply be deciding which side of the bed to favor. As the sun climbs higher, showering warmth upon the deck, the pirates set their sights on the vast horizon ahead, where the dance of discovery awaits just beyond reach, amid whispers of laughter and the murmur of the waves. As the day unfolds under the splendid Caribbean sun, the spirit of camaraderie aboard the ship swells, rich and tangible like the scent of salt in the air. The pirates, hardened by many a tempest and softened only by the warmth of shared stories, find strength not just in their weapons but in the bonds forged between their days of toil. Each laugh shared cuts through the heart of danger, creating a sacred space where tales of valor and folly intermingle like the ocean's ebb and flow. In the towering shadows of the mainmast, every pirate plays their part, embracing roles dictated not by rank but by heart. Some may be seasoned veterans, their skin etched with the sun's caress and stories of the sea, while others are young, fresh-faced and eager, their eyes sparkling with unquenched thirst for adventure. Yet, despite the variety in age and experience, each soul is unified by the singular vision of freedom across the open waters, and in this freedom, they find a home. The crew bends over barrels of rum, the liquid gold of their existence, raising cups filled with promises of glory over and over again until the air shimmers with laughter. Tales are spun like sails on the wind, each one more audacious than the last, yet all laced with the thread of shared truth, the legends of those who conquered the deep and those who vanished into its depths, swallowed by its indifference. In the evenings, as daylight gives way to twilight, the ship transforms into a sanctuary of sounds and sights that wrap around them like a treasured blanket. The creaking of wood settles into a lullaby, a constant reminder of the vessel's rhythm against the heartbeat of the sea. Shadows flicker under the lantern's glow, illuminating faces animated with excitement, drinking in camaraderie and reveling in their reckless escapades. While the rolling waves provide a haunting melody beneath their feet, the pirates lean into their stories, reliving memories that weave their identities deeper into the fabric of maritime folklore. A half-drunk bottle of rum bobs between hands, serving as a gavel for humorous debates and exaggerated retellings of daring pursuits. Each man poses not just as a participant in these tales but as a living, breathing chapter in their collective saga. They are not merely survivors, but the authors of their fate. Amidst this gathering, the more superstitious take a moment to consult their cherished luck charms, a chipped coin or a weathered bone, offering whispers of protection and fortune to the tides. They recall the words their old captains once murmured, "The sea has her way of balancing the ledger." Therefore, with every laugh, they acknowledge the fragile nature of their existence, enjoying the present while still being wary of the inescapable reality that someday the tide may turn. As the night unfolds, tales twist and turn, the triumphs of battles fought at dawn turn into discussions around friendly games of chance in dim-lit corners of the ship. As laughter and betting run rampant, nourished by rum and the spirit of competition, the tension transforms into weaving camaraderie, each triumph celebrated, each loss brushed aside. Bonds grow strong in the fires of these light-hearted encounters, forging friendships that transcend the unpredictability of life at sea. But not every tale is one of joy. Occasionally, the murmur of the past brushes over them like a ghostly wind. A quieter pirate might reveal the cautionary tales of those once lost, those who ventured too far, who were too reckless, who paid the ultimate price for their folly. These stories, while cloaked in darkness, serve as reminders of the shared resolve that binds them. Pirates tread a fine line, existing as stewards of the Pacific blue while continuously aware of the dance with danger, yet even those hushed warnings cannot suppress the inevitable yearning for glory. The rich tapestries of their conversations become the threads of a vibrant community. In every turning tale, in every solemn toast, lies the reassurance that they are not alone in the vastness of the Caribbean, but rather part of a larger, wildly unpredictable family brought together under the mast. Amid this chaotic blend of revelry and reflection, they embrace the pirate's creed, a life unmeasured by the standards of society, unbound by the chains of conventionality. A philosophy that brims with wonder yet holds the stark reality of the ocean's depths close to heart. The camaraderie shared on deck becomes a shelter against the unforgiving tides of fate. There is safety in numbers, and together they forge a resilience that shapes their identities. As the moon begins its ascent above the horizon, a celestial beacon guiding their way through the night, let us drift seamlessly into the world beyond, where the sanctuary of Nassau awaits, a haven of diversity and resilience thrumming with the pulse of life itself. Nassau, with its lively streets and distinctively boisterous atmosphere, paints a vibrant contrast to a pirate's solitary existence on the open seas. Here, amongst its bustling markets and raucous taverns, the allure of piracy thrives. The souls who huddle together whispering, laughing, storing tales for later, the chatter blends into a harmonious symphony that beckons all who seek adventure and camaraderie alike. To be a pirate is no mere act, it is a full-fledged way of life, lived loudly and with fervor, mirroring the chaos and beauty of the world around them. And so, imagine life there, pleasingly chaotic. Encompassed by a chorus of vendors hawking their wares, the sounds of bargaining dance in the air, high-pitched calls, low chuckles, and even the occasional call of indignation. As pirates disperse, they meld seamlessly into the throng, their presence an electric current flickering through a landscape flourishing with stalls of spices, textiles dyed in the vibrant colors of the tropics, and trinkets that gloss over their tumultuous existence. The atmosphere is scented with a melange of smells, fresh fruit colliding with the fermented tang of spirits and the warm, buttery aroma of baked goods cooling in the shade. Here, the market serves as a meeting point, a crossroads of cultures and stories, as traders and pirates exchange more than goods, delving into tales woven from distant shores and whispering secrets carried by the winds. Every face tells countless stories, some weary from relentless pursuits on the sea, some enlivened by laughter and shared ventures. As they traverse stalls, glancing at baubles and contemplating possible trades, the sense of belonging pulses gently in their pulses, the fascination of exploring the unknown and the comfort of shared experiences igniting a spark that can rarely be dimmed. Yet in this dynamic dance of humanity, a whisper of caution lingers, familiar imports of distrust permeate the air. Pirates don't merely barter with goods but also with stories, illusions of safety. The irony of their existence plays out in floating trusts and hidden daggers. They find solace amidst chaos yet remain acutely aware that even within these friendly minglings, dangers lurk. The legend of the pirate, brave yet susceptible, carries with it an undercurrent of anticipation, a lingering air of unpredictability. As dawn gives way to dusk, the intoxicating atmosphere of companionship builds an intimacy rarely found on seafaring vessels. Legends are shared like precious coins over rounds of rum at makeshift tables, laughter ringing through the air, a joyful getaway from the worries of fortune and misfortune alike. Each tap of the tankard creates a ripple effect, igniting stories and legends with a spark that binds the hearts of those gathered. And so, as the clock edges toward midnight, the raucous laughter graduates into a fervent celebration of life, a festival of friendship strung between moments of peril and purpose, memories forged in heat and rum. This pirate haven, that embraces differences and oddities, becomes a temporary sanctuary, where anything feels possible, if only for an evening where pirates dance together under the stars. Once more, the spectre of danger lingers like salt upon their lips, a reminder that amid laughter lies an ever-looming fate. Yet tonight, under the warm glow of lanterns, the winds of fortune temper the risks, wrapping them in a fine embrace as they claim the night for themselves, at least for now. Calmly, as we roll with the tides, let us recognize the bond of community. These longings and struggles ripple through time as we find ourselves in the modern comfort of our homes, where we cradle our loved ones and enjoy the simplistic joy of a jovial gathering or a shared meal. So, let us raise our glasses to the laughter that liberates and the stories that embody resilience. Remember that when you rest your head tonight, you are blessed with the ease of a cozy pillow, and not a pirate's coat wrapped tightly against the ocean's chill. You may hold dearer treasures than the plundered gold they sought in life, products of a world where friendship flourishes without the need for a cutlass. And if you dream of pirate escapades, let it linger lightly, like driftwood brushed by a gentle breeze, knowing fully well this was indeed a life worth celebrating. The sun rises slowly over Nassau, casting a warm golden glow that rouses the sleepy streets with the promise of another bustling day. As the first light strokes the horizon, the vibrant life of the pirate haven unfurls. The cries of seagulls pierce the stillness of the dawn, their sounds mingling with the faint rustle of palm fronds swaying gently in the breeze. The air is thick with the aromas of the sea, evoking a sense of belonging for those who earn their living among the waves and shadows. Streets lined with wooden shanties spring to life, their painted facades reflecting a collage of colors that rival the kaleidoscopic hues of the dawn sky. Merchants start to arrange their wares, fabric spills out onto the cobbled streets like a seashell's delicate layers, each vying for the attention of wanderers and sailors alike. Spice vendors hawk their goods, the accents of their voices adding to the rich melange of dialects ranging from rough English to lilting Spanish, with a splash of French for good measure. Each market stall tells a story, recounting whispers of trade and fortune, of exchanges both legal and illicit. Within Nassau, the cacophony crescendos, the sound rising and falling like the tide itself. Shouts of traders fill the air, peddling everything from shiny trinkets to barrels of rum. An eager pair of children weave through the crowd, giggling and darting between legs, their laughter echoing the infectious spirit of the island. Each corner turned reveals another face, another tale, a tapestry woven from the threads of countless lives, some of adventure, others of misfortune, but all bound by the salt of the sea. As the sun escalates in the sky, pirate crews converge in the heart of Nassau, exchanging tales and plans like seasoned players in a well-rehearsed play. They gather near the docks, where the ships bob gently in the harbor, their sails whispering of potential journeys and voyages yet to come. The camaraderie hinges on mutual respect and a shared understanding of the wildness of life at sea. It is a bond, steeped in laughter and loyalty, as cherished as any bounty held in a treasure chest. In this chaotic yet harmonious environment, one may find a peculiar beauty, a brief suspension from the harsh realities that the world may cast. As pirates jostle for space amid the throng, a shared understanding blooms. Here, they are not merely outlaws, but dreamers and adventurers, crafting their legacies in the sun. Free to revel in the very essence of what it means to be alive, they fill their bellies with the taste of adventure and their souls with the spirit of mischief. Amid the clamor, the taverns stand as welcoming havens, their doors flung wide to embrace the day's activities. Here, the scent of spiced meats wafts alongside the promise of refreshment, inviting weary souls to rest and share. One can imagine the well-worn wooden tables, their surfaces marred by the passage of many a rough and tumble night, now set for a bustling day of laughter and camaraderie. A barrel rolls across the floor, staves creaking, as mates laugh heartily, engaging in riffling banter. It is in these moments, amidst the murmur of voices and the tactile familiarity of the beaten wood, that stories bubble up like froth from a freshly poured tankard. And thus, the pirate life in Nassau flows like the tides, each wave welcoming fleeting encounters and transient friendships. As the sun rises higher, illuminating faces north and south alike, one cannot help but feel the exhilarating pulse of life thrumming through the streets. It is a daily tapestry woven of individual threads, interlacing fates matched against a backdrop of boundless sky and ever-rolling sea. This vibrant melting pot of cultures is not merely a spectacle, it is a crucible where differing traditions collide, ebbing and flowing into something more profound. They share tales in the common language of yearning for freedom, expansion, and tales of glory hidden just beyond the horizon. As they commune in their ragtag and colorful haven, each pirate brings forth a piece of its homeland, merging with the music of the sea to create a unique symphony of shared existence. The day unfolds, and along the bustling docks, an air of anticipation grows thick. For the pirates and traders alike, the marketplace pulses with the thrill of potential. Whether it be a deal struck or a ship sighted, adventure lingers just at the water's edge, tantalizingly close. As wooden carts creak and vendors shout their wares, one can almost hear the distant call of sails snapping in the wind, promising escape and quest, a beckoning that almost feels like home. As the sun drapes itself across the sky, the day's energies ebb and flow through Nassau, and one can't help but admire how such a place thrives amidst the wildness. It reflects a world outside of conventional rules, a sanctuary for those who choose defiance over compliance, camaraderie over solitude. In this blending of cultures and ideals, one recognizes that while the sea may be unforgiving, its embrace nurtures those bold enough to brave the waters. The communal heartbeats echo through every alley, every marketplace, each rhythm resonating with dreams of conquests yet to unfold. In this lively sentiment, it is comforting to think back to the coziness of our modern-day homes, where such gatherings often bring about laughter and stories among friends. As we curl up at night, surrounded by the gentle hum of familiar comforts, let us not forget the spirit of camaraderie that sheltered the pirates in their escapades. Laughter still rings true in our lives, echoing the warmth found around tables both grand and humble. And there, in the gentle embrace of night, perhaps we might find ourselves drifting through dreams laden with the same promise of adventure, knowing full well that at dawn, a new day waits to let us create memories of our own. And while you drift into sleep tonight, perhaps think of a pirate's life, a life not bound by walls, or, if nothing else, just be grateful for the invention of air conditioning. Evening settles over Nassau, casting a warm glow through the taverns and gathering spots where pirates congregate after long, salt-laden days at sea. The sounds of laughter bubble up like the soft crash of waves against the harbor side. In the taverns, rough-hewn tables are surrounded by the colorful chaos of voices, echoing tales of triumph and folly. All around this casual merriment, the enticing scent of hearty stews and baked bread wafts through the air, mingling with the sharp tang of rum, a scent that dances lightly beneath the heavy wooden beams. Inside these crowded places, pirates lean into their chairs, fiddling with mugs both chipped and well-loved, each one holding the promise of liquid warmth and camaraderie. Their stories tumble out like the grains of sand slipped through fingers, with each tale marked by exaggerated gestures and raucous laughter. A familiar song breaks out, the melody winding its way through the room, embraced by voices both smooth and rough, blending into a chorus of camaraderie that feels like a warm, thick blanket on a cold night. As they spin tales, they embark on journeys through wild exploits and legendary escapades, recounting encounters with rival ships and the peculiar characters they crossed paths with on the high seas. Stories ebb and flow, matching the rhythm of their spirits, sometimes braggadocious, other times laced with a subtle humility. A few tokens are exchanged, and soon enough, games of chance emerge, cards and dice clattering against tables, as laughter erupts over fortunes won and lost. The rollicking good-natured banter brings a kinship that transcends the bonds of blood or rank, turns it into something deeper, a brotherhood forged upon the uncertain tides. With every laugh that spills out into the night air, you can sense the relief that peace brings after the anxiety of potential skirmishes or accusations of piracy may come crashing back at dawn. Tales of bravado are undercut by moments of earnestness, murmured confessions that reveal fears whispered between comrades. A pirate's life, while filled with adventure, carries with it a weight that is almost tangible. It is not just the sea that claims its toll, but the weight of expectancy, promise, and the unyielding truth that any day might be the last. As the night deepens, Candles flicker and cast soft shadows on the rough-hewn walls, giving the place an ambient glow. Moments of silence emerge, punctuated by contented sighs, as pirates lean back in their chairs, gazing at the faces of those they consider family. In this sanctuary of stories, friendships are fortified with each shared sip of rum, and all the horrors of the ocean ripen into legends around which to weave their yarns. Yet even amidst this mirth, there are reminders strewn about, superstitions and omens linger in the air, trinkets strung on hats or tied around wrists, reflecting the collective desire to ward off misfortune. In the low-lit nooks of taverns, one might catch glimpses of the tattoos that map the sailors' skins, each inked line a chapter of their life, a testament to journeys taken, loves lost, and victories claimed. The murmur of tales continues, reminiscing of long-lost mates or fateful battles, all while punctuated by the clinking of mugs raised high in honor, or perhaps to ward off the specter of a dark and stormy fate. And traveling deeper into evening, the tavern's wooden door swings open, allowing the cool Caribbean breeze to flow in, mingling with the din of laughter and lilting melodies. Outside, under the dim coverage of swaying palm fronds and the canopy of stars above, the world feels both vast and invited, filled with the possibilities that tomorrow could bring. As the night settles in, the laughter eventually quietens, and one can almost hear the whispers of history weaving into the fabric of the present. Reflecting on lives both lived and lost, one is reminded of the spirits of the ancient adventurers who once walked these very streets, finding the sanctuary of shared warmth, much like the pirates before them, seeking nothing more than to belong amidst family and friends. And while the pirates of Nassau knew the warmth of social bonds, it's good to acknowledge how, today, we find similar joys in gatherings around our own dining tables, often without the worry of being boarded or chased by naval retaliation. Thought turns to the inventions of the modern world, the comforts of home, the warmth of cozy blankets, and kitchens where food is a reliable delight rather than a scarce resource. After all, when you close your eyes tonight, remember that while others shared tales of sea monsters or cursed treasures, you can simply draw comfort from pillows, blankets, and the wonders of 21st century living. Yes, life in the age of three-step home delivery and the subtle joys of indoor plumbing, what a marvel it is. In the resonant quiet that follows, just as the clutter of the tavern begins to taper off, so too does the energy of the day drift away, easing into gentle sleep, lulling the weary into dreams where adventure and companionship remain forever entwined with each heartbeat. As the sun begins its slow descent, casting a golden glow across the horizon, the vibrant atmosphere of Nassau transforms. The bustling streets, once filled with the sounds of chatter and the ruckus of bartering, now flourish with an energy all their own, crackling with the promise of celebration. The day's weariness melts away as taverns fill with familiar faces and new acquaintances, each embracing the spirit of community that thrives in this pirate haven. The annual Pirate Festival, a tradition interwoven deeply into the fabric of life at sea, is upon them once more. Everywhere, vibrant decorations sway gently in the evening breeze, brightly colored ragged pennants fluttering against the setting sun. Scattered around the town, vendors proudly display their wares, from intricately crafted trinkets born from the hands of skilled artisans to sumptuous feasts that promise an indulgence rarely found aboard a ship confined to the limitations of its stores. The air is thick with the tempting aroma of roasted meats grilling to perfection, mingling seamlessly with the notes of spiced rum intoxicating the senses. Laughter dances through the streets alongside billowing sounds of live music, plucked strings of guitars and the rhythmic beat of drums inviting all to partake in the festivities. Each tune pulls at the heartstrings, tales of bravery and loss replayed in melodies that echo the seafaring life. Huddled under the glow of flickering torches, groups of pirates gather in close circles, sharing hearty jokes and exaggerated stories of dashing escapades. In these moments, the lines between reality and boastful lore blur, as every tale recounted adds another layer to the legend of their existence. As night deepens and the sky transitions to a velvet expanse sparkling with stars, games and contests ignite a friendly air of competition. The festival teems with spirited activities, a display of strength and skill amidst the colorful array of revelers. Tables positioned around the plaza serve as stages for everything from dueling to arm wrestling matches, where bragging rights last far beyond the evening. Cheers erupt like cannon fire, accompanied by roars of hooting and hollering that punctuate the night air, each exclamation lighting up the hearts of those who have come to enjoy this fleeting freedom. In the midst of this conviviality, food becomes an offering of love and shared history. Pirates huddle around tables laden with provisions, exchanging hearty servings of homely fare, their laughter mingling with the aroma of spiced fish and stews that simmer in deep cauldrons. Each mouthful savored reminds them of the rituals shared when a ship's hold was full and the sails were still hoisted high. The threads of camaraderie weave tighter as stories are shared, each recounting remarked with guffaws and cheers, binding spirits together amidst a backdrop of hardship and adventure. Music continues to float through the night, lapping at the ears of entranced listeners, whose feet find rhythm to the dance of the festival. Pairs of pirates sway and spin, laughter enlivening them as they twirl beneath the stars. They embrace life's moments, however fleeting, tethering themselves less to words and more to the shared heartbeat of revelry. The tavern's walls resonate with raucous applause and soft murmurs, the ebb and flow of the night illuminating all the joys and tribulations they've endured. Yet, beyond the bright smiles and jubilant spirits, whispers of superstition flutter as well. There is an understanding among the pirates that amidst the festivities, the shadows of their past loom ever so closely. A desire to find fortune in the dawn and ward off ill omens colors the merriment, creating a backdrop of reverence among the playful laughter. Rituals are enacted, small offerings made to the spirits of the sea and the deities they believe watch over them. Eventually, amidst the shared bounty of laughter and companionship, the festival begins to soften as the night grows old. Participants gradually drift to quieter corners, tales soften into hushed tones, and the echoes of the day reverberate gently through the cool night air. The festival, an oasis of joy in a life often dominated by danger, brings a serene calm that lingers long after the last mug is raised. As they look to the sky, stars twinkling like treasure scattered upon a vast sea, the pirates of Nassau take comfort in the knowledge that tomorrow will bring renewal. The tension of naval pursuits, the whisper of rival crews, and the haunting specters of stranded voyages fade, if only momentarily, under the spell of shared stories and revelry. It is here, in this sanctuary of celebration, that the pirates truly feel alive, moments etched into memory serving as both anchor and sail as they journey forth through life's unpredictable waves. In reflecting on these gatherings, one cannot help but marvel at how the spirit of community continues to thrive today, albeit in forms we may not always recognize. For all the ease and nostalgia wrapped in the tales of the past, it is perhaps in the shared meals around our tables, the laughter echoing through our homes, and the gentle rhythms of companionship that we find a continuity with those who came before us. And so, as one considers the comfort of a world where midnight snack runs are merely a walk to the kitchen and gatherings require no fear of cannons or betrayal, it becomes clear just how deeply we are woven together through time. When your own story wins its way toward dreams tonight, may you find your peace in the reminders of tranquility and freedom found in modern life, a life where the only duels we engage in are over who gets the last slice of pizza. With grateful hearts and full bellies, we drift onward, lulled by the gentle tide of time, where laughter dances in the dim light of memory and the adventures of the pirates remain forever intertwined with our own. And as we slip swiftly into sleep, know that tomorrow awaits a new dawn filled with the hope of new adventures, and possibly, just possibly, a slice of that infamous pizza. The Caribbean Sea, with its shimmering cerulean expanse, served not only as a playground for adventure but also as a stage for conflict. The Spanish Main, often romanticized for its beauty and rich bounty, was a tumultuous landscape artistically painted with the strokes of warfare, trade, and the defiant spirit of those who lived by the sword. To speak of pirates is to speak of a duality. They were both villains in the eyes of empires and heroes in the hearts of the underprivileged. Conflict simmered between the imperial ambitions of Spain and the rugged, free-spirited nature of piracy that sought to disrupt it. Spanish galleons, laden with treasure from the New World, sailed cautiously through these waters, for lurking beneath the parted waves were cunning adversaries with ships as nimble as their wits. And as the sun kissed the horizon, gilding the scene in scarlet, the pirates, worn but hopeful, prepared to engage in the age-old dance of cat and mouse with their illustrious foes. Amidst their mischief, the world viewed them through a lens of paradox. To the common folk, these marauders were often seen as champions, raiding the affluent Spanish ships and redistributing wealth among the downtrodden for the price of a few pints of rum. The clashing realities of piracy left communities divided. With a mixture of admiration and fear, they heralded the arrival of pirates as anything from heroics to high treason, reshaping the landscape of loyalty with every raid sung in taverns across the coasts. Each skirmish had a flavor of its own, a cocktail of nerves mixed with anticipation, the stakes high for both pirates and the ominous Spanish galleons threading their way through the bay. From the wooden planks of the pirate ships, men would strain their eyes against the watery horizon, searching for the slightest glimmer of the sails belonging to their rivals. The very essence of the pirate life swayed like the masts of their vessels, a precarious balance of freedom intertwined with the constant threat of betrayal, violence, and eventual demise. Blackbeard roamed these salty routes, a figure entwined with the lore of 1,000 tales. He was both a man and myth, a captain skilled not just in naval warfare but also in psychological warfare, employing terror as his ally. His legend grew with each endeavor, a white plume of smoke swirling behind him as he struck like a shadow upon the unsuspecting. Succinctly, he embodied the heart of piracy, the captivating risk mingling with opportunism, the very spirit that struck a chord even in the warmer confines of every shanty across the Caribbean islands. These narratives built over time painted a portrait of a life filled with moral ambiguity. While piracy might appear purely malevolent to the authorities, in the course of everyday lives, pirates forged their destinies in a world they deemed unfair. Tales spoke of secret encounters at night, bottles shared beneath starlit skies, and plans whispered on the wind, each night promising the possibility of gold or infamous acts of defiance against oppressive empires. But like the ebb and flow of tides, these stories of rebellion did not trivialize the dark underbelly of conflict. Pirate skirmishes often turned fierce, and the bloodshed spoke to the destructiveness woven into this pursuit of liberty. As cannonballs launched through the air, the cries of battle, though muted by distance, transcended this watery realm's beautiful facade, reminding all that life could change by the turn of a tide. Colonial authorities, entrenched in their notions of law and order, began to respond with a heavy naval presence. The very seas that had offered freedom turned, for pirates, into a daunting prison of threats, with warships tearing away the fabric of their rebellion. They witnessed the tightening grip of naval power magnifying their every move. The thrill of plunder was now mingling with the reality of survival, transforming their existence into one of constant vigilance. As the sun traced its golden arc across the sky, it illuminated the very waters that had once reflected revelry and adventure, now darkened by the specters of loss and sorrow creeping into every rump-soaked tale. The pirates' laughter faded, but the echo of those battles reverberated in their hearts, a reminder that each victory carried the weight of consequence. Such is the path of rebellion, a journey fraught with glories and failures, victories and sacrifices. While modern life often offers quiet comforts, the sort of tranquility that comes from knowing the laws of the land are designed to protect, not condemn, the lives of those early pirates remind us that every story comes at a cost. And as we float through the currents of time, perhaps it's worth remembering that while pirates sought to plunder riches, they were also chasing something much more elusive: freedom. They existed on a tightrope of fate, where every sunrise brought with it the promise of new challenges and choices. The sun would rise again tomorrow, demanding fresh decisions, each more poignant than the last. The expectation rested heavily on their shoulders. With eyes gazing upon the uncharted waters, one could not help but think, what might their lives have been had they chosen different paths away from the sea yet defined by the same pursuit of freedom. Now, aside from treasure maps and tales worn by time, we find solace in the present, where the treacherous waves of the past have calmed into mere whispers of wind in the trees. A cherished reminder exists quietly beneath the layers of our modern day. If you happen to enjoy the occasional rum or a daring yarn shared with friends, perhaps then you share more in common with those swashbuckling spirits than you might realize. In this reflective moment, consider how fortunate we are nestled in our homes, casting aside the tempest both inside and outside the heart. As you drift toward the land of slumber, think of the peace brought forth by a gentle breeze rather than the crashing waves of cannon fire. It holds its own treasures familiar to each one of us. So, as the pirates once roamed with reckless abandon, we too can now venture into the dreams of our lives, stretching out with the safety of warm blankets, rather than the cold caress of a pirate's quest. Tonight, enjoy a drink of your choice in celebration of freedom, no cannons required. And should a ghost of a vengeful pirate dare to haunt your dreams, simply assure them that you're merely here for the comfort of cozy beds and hot showers. Because let's be honest, who wouldn't agree that both are equally captivating? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the sandy shores of the Caribbean, the spectre of piracy loomed ever present. While the allure of treasure and the thrill of the chase seduced many into the fold, the consequences of this daring life manifested like storm clouds gathering on the horizon. The seas, with their gentle undulations, held within them tales of glory and of reckoning, a balance, perhaps, between liberation and lawlessness. Life on the high seas was not merely an adventure filled with laughter and bounty, it was also fraught with the shadow of consequence. For every galleon plundered, there lingered an ever-watchful eye thrusting against the backdrop of a burgeoning British Empire, pulsating with the hearts of loyalists and colonists alike. Every haul taken from the Spanish Main was chased by an unyielding pursuit of justice, resulting in ripples far beyond the waves of the ocean. Pirates, often glorified in songs and stories, were seen by many as romantic figures, rebels against the sternness of authority. Yet the reality that unfolded amidst the salty spray was more complicated. The majestic ships that rose with the morning sun held not just the whispers of freedom but also the echoes of fear instilled in both the sailors and the merchants grounded by the law. Piracy, with its tantalizing promise of autonomy, was underpinned by a constant thread of trauma, a dance with danger that could turn deadly, where betrayal loomed behind every smile and its insidious tendrils crept into the seams of trust. Every pirate nestled beneath the stars held a story of familial love, longing, or loss, pulling them toward this rogue lifestyle. Yet for those cast out into this world, consequences followed them like a shadow. The Spanish galleons, laden with bounty, were not merely vessels ripe for plundering, they were also harbingers of conflict. Pirates would often find themselves engaging in skirmishes, where the lines between villainy and valor blurred. Which man was the hero, and which one was the villain, when every cannon blast proclaimed the ferocity of this piratical existence? The tensions between the island's inhabitants and the Spanish Empire ignited fierce conflicts. While pirates raided merchant vessels, they inadvertently foiled the delicate network of trade that sustained their own favorite ports of call. Nassau, once a sanctuary for buccaneers, transformed from a merry haven into an epicenter of conflict, becoming a battleground for loyalties battling against the shadows of colonial manipulation. Pirate crews often found themselves thrust into the unwelcome role of pawns in a game of larger power, yet the thrill of unauthorized plunder and the vivid joy of freedom kept them from retreating into the shadows of submission. And indeed, it wasn't solely the pursuit of gold that clashed with order, it was the very essence of freedom, galloping forth into all corners of the Caribbean. Pirates personified rebellion, his heart adorned with the scars of old loyalties, while simultaneously tearing at the fabric of colonial control. Yet, for all their bravado, they remained hostages to fate, susceptible to the naval powers that sought to suppress their restless hearts. As the sun set beneath the waves, the British Navy, resolute and relentless, emerged as the counterforce to the liberty sought by pirates. They sailed out in grand ships, their hulls firm against the waves, each crew stirred by vigilance rather than adventure. Tactics were perfected in the boredom of endless drills, and the stench of salt and sweat mingled in the air. The royal banners flying high promised a semblance of order in a chaotic world, and skirmishes erupted as steel clashed with the dreams of those who lived upon the margin of acceptability. Rumors fluttered like whispers on the wind about notorious piracy threats, such as Edward Teach, better known as Blackbeard, a fearsome visage flying the flag of hell itself. Each story of triumph or agonizing defeat rippled through taverns and fishing villages, reaching the ears of men who yearned for daring yet salivated at the thought of bounty as much as they feared the wrath of the navy. Tales of these historical confrontations filled the pirate heart with fierce pride and trepidation, worn like a tattered flag upon the chest, glorious yet full of holes. Piracy, while briefly liberating, inspired both admiration and horror, forever changing the landscape of trade. Local economies thrived on the hustle and bustle of illicit exchanges, while merchants learned quickly that trust was a luxury few could afford. Coastal towns, lined with markets showcasing captured wares, glittering spoils that filled tables and piqued tempers, became relics of a mixed legacy, swirling in chaos yet stocked with whispers of past glories. Thus, with each plundered ship and each bounty buried beneath warm sands or stowed within rotted wood, the fate of piracy unfurled, mapping out a tapestry of economic upheaval. Alliances formed under the promise of shared treasure grew brittle under temptation, revealing the very essence of human nature, a struggle between loyalty and greed that played out like the tides. The arrival of foreign fleets, and skirmishes that echoed through the night, shifted dynamics and painted a more reciprocal reality. As we weave through the rich and tangled fabric of maritime conflict, it's vital to pause and recognize the price paid for these escapades. Not only for the pirates, whose spirits swayed like the sails of their ships, but also for the communities left scrambling beneath the shadow of their dark misdeeds. In a sense, it's as if both their triumphs and trials found inhabitants within the confines of every vessel, a reminder that with each choice comes a resonance felt across both the waves and shore. And yet, over the gentle lap of waves upon the sand, one cannot help but find solace in the notion that, much like the tides have ebbed and flowed through time, so too must our understanding of the consequences of piracy shift and evolve. Canoes can remain at anchor under starlit skies, free from the burden of cannon fire and conflict, and we as modern folk can take pleasure in considering the comforts of our own lives, far removed from the chaotic freedom that once defined the high seas. Tonight, let us raise a toast, perhaps in memory of those wayward souls drawn to the winds and waves, at once seeking freedom and meeting their fate. For the winds now carry not the scent of gunpowder but that of modern comforts, soft beds, and fresh sheets, reminding us that should we choose, our adventures need not involve grappling with swords or avoiding court-martial. As sweet dreams steal into our thoughts, we may simply want to extend the warmth of freedom into the embrace of our pleasant cushions. So, here's to you, dreams of daring do and salvaged spoils await, without all the salty chaos. The ebbs and flows of the Caribbean waves held within them stories that whispered of conflict and survival, each ripple a testament to the ties of fate that bound the fates of pirates and empires alike. As we sail through this intricate web of history, we find ourselves amid a tumultuous time, the War of Spanish Succession. It unfolded like a storm on the horizon, roiling under the surface, strangely intriguing to those who made their homes upon the high seas. Pirates have long found themselves caught in the throes of larger political machinations, like leaves swept along in a rivulet of fate. The small skirmishes between competing empires, the Spanish, the English, the French, served not only as opportunities for plunder, but in many ways, as the very lifeblood that nourished piracy. In this atmosphere of conflict, a certain strain of camaraderie began to weave its way across the decks of ships and taverns alike, binding these renegades even as the flapping sails drew them toward individual fortunes. With each whisper of cannon fire in the distance, legends began to rise. The air vivified with tales of rich Spanish galleons laden with gold and silver, an irresistible siren call for those who sailed beneath the Jolly Roger. Blackbeard, with his fearsome visage and infamous reputation, emerged as a figure of formidable presence, capturing the imagination of both friend and foe. To many, he was a villain, to others, a hero in his own right, crafting a narrative not solely of treachery, but of daring audacity that became the stuff of dreams. On one particularly balmy afternoon, as the sun dipped toward the horizon, these sentiments took on a palpable form. The scent of salt mingled with the echoes of festive banter from the crew, their hearts buoyed by stories of victories past and battles yet to come. It was within this framework of shared dreams that piracy flourished, not merely out of a desire for wealth, but in the understanding that every crow's nest lookout shared hope of adventure, every sailor clung to the promise of glory awaiting them just beyond the surf. However, we must gently peer beyond the allure of treasure and glory, for the realities of such tumult were seldom romantic. The stakes were astonishingly high, and as alliances shifted like sand beneath the tides, the fate of those navigating this treacherous world lay forever in a delicate balance. While many pirates savored their unshackled freedom, they did so on borrowed time, always just a hair's breadth away from cat-and-mouse games with naval forces dispatched by embroiled monarchs. The very fabric of their lifestyle teetered on the edge of confrontation, vulnerable to the tides of allegiance and hostility that swept through the Caribbean. As we relish in the charm of this period, it is essential to acknowledge the duality inherent in the piracy of the time, the freedom pursued often guided by grim tactics that cast long shadows over the sun-kissed islands. For every glee shared on an evening filled with rum, there lay the stark reality of damage done to communities caught in the crossfire of ambition and greed. Mare's tales spun with shimmering adventure also spoke of stakes far beyond the glittering prospects of shards of gold. And now, investing our thoughts into the different layers of power dynamics, we find ourselves looking toward the broader implications of piracy that reached beyond the immediate course of skirmishes. The communities that thrived where pirates roamed were not indelibly marked by their deeds but shaped by the complexities that came with such a tumultuous lifestyle. To some settlers, these sea wolves represented a form of rebellion, a band of brothers responding to the oppressive structures imposed by the crowns. Each ship that set sail did not merely harbor men seeking fortune, it held within it a wave of discontent, a story of those no longer willing to bow to the chains of colonial power. To be in the Caribbean, during this clash of empires, was to revel in a unique flavor of life, where every tavern held the promise of brotherhood, and every port was alive with the sounds of raucous laughter and the sharp clink of tankards. Beneath the around-the-clock negotiation of allegiances and enmities, life was a vibrant tapestry that reflected the beauty of resilience. As the currents of the War of Spanish Succession shifted and molded relationships, some moments bore witness to blurring lines between compatriots and rivals, alliances fraying yet holding on, like a well-worn rope that anchored a vessel to dock. Still, those who sailed were often left with an awkward camaraderie amidst shifting loyalties. The whispers of betrayal mixed with the stench of gunpowder, and as hand-rolled cigarettes were shared aboard deck, moments of trepidation blended seamlessly into laughter all in one breath. Thus continues the saga of piracy, filled with discoveries and reconstructions of belief, lost amidst the conflict that painted a complex canvas across the Caribbean. Much like the twilight sky that bathed the sea in a somber glow, the War of Spanish Succession illuminated piracy's duality, both dangerous and liberating, a reality forever entwined with those who tread the delicate balance of freedom and fear upon the waves. As the sun dipped lower, casting vibrant hues upon the vast ocean, the uncharted depths continued to beckon. Pirates, once dreamers unmoored by systematized rule, learned to navigate the complexities of power, a melange of conflict, camaraderie, and chaos spun into each day they carved upon the seas. Yet, as the tales unfurl and we ponder the historical undercurrents that shaped a world so distant yet intimately close, we must be ever grateful for the ease of modern life, the rapid transition from violent skirmishes to a cozy evening with loved ones, sans cannon fire and miles from conflict. Tonight, as you slip into the realms of imagination undaunted by the burdens of marauding dreams, remind yourself how lucky you are to snuggle up in peace, with no need to snore behind a barrel of rum. Should you dream of pirate adventures, may you do so without the pressing concern of just where your next meal of dried fish may come from. With that, let the sands of time slip gently through your fingers as you drift ever deeper into a world free from the strife of the past. The horizon shifted as the time of the early 18th century whispered of change, and a new chapter in the annals of piracy began to unfurl. As the joyful golden hours faded and a shroud of uncertainty drifted over the Caribbean, pirates felt the tightening grip of the world around them. The War of Spanish Succession, a grand conflict sprawling across Europe, nadir of ambition and greed, cast its long shadow over the seas, leaving pirates to navigate not just the azure depths, but the turbulent waters of allegiances, obligations, and caution. Across the swaying decks of their weathered ships, there lingered a familiar tension. The pirate, with rugged faces cursed by the sun and wind, banded together under the flag of freedom, yet were inevitably drawn into a struggle they wished, perhaps, to avoid. As they patched the sails, harmonic creaks transformed into dissonance, forewarned by the distant sounds of Navy drums echoing across the waves, marking the advance of the Royal Navy into waters seldom tread by their kind. The scent of impending skirmishes mixed in with the salty air, reminiscent of old tales told around the dim light of a flickering lantern, a reminder that freedom was always intertwined with peril. Once, under the shade of palm trees that danced with the ocean's whispers, their gatherings felt more like a holiday, interspersed with jovial laughter and shared fortunes. Now, however, conversations grew grave, echoes of last night's tales gave way to anxious glances and softened tones. The din of adventure was replaced by strategic mutterings, weighing the risks of the next plunder, every decision a coin tossed between glory and doom. Eyes that once sparkled with the dreams of treasure now flickered with caution, as they understood that each treasure map they followed could lead to uncharted dangers, or worse, the uninvited scrutiny of the Crown's enforcers tightening around them like an iron grip. Pistol barrels gleamed under the sun, reminders not just of fortune but of the risk that came with the very act of piracy. The whispers of the sea urged them onward still, as those who called themselves captains crafted bold strategies to outmaneuver not just the bounties that graced their paths, but the tightening net of a naval presence keen to cleanse the waters of vice. In their dreams of piratical exploits, they faced a new reality. The horizon that once heralded opportunity now guarded its treasures fiercely, convincing them that the rules of the game had changed yet again. Towards dusk, a quiet meeting filled the captain's quarters, dimly lit by the cast of oil lamps, where maps sprawled across worn tables. Dust swirled in soft eddies, and voices quivered as murmurs echoed against the rough wooden walls. The king's death and the following treaty had turned the summer's promise into a bitter autumn as different factions contested for the spoils. Pirates were alchemists in their own right, turning dire straits into whimsical tales of daring ventures, only now, their mirth was laced with uneasy realizations, forced to recognize that each battle, while fought with bravado, sprang from stinging uncertainty. With every whispered plan, the shimmering sea outside took on an unusual hue, revealing the shifting tides of political bargaining that laced the Caribbean backdrop. An impending naval encounter, prowling like a wolf tetragonal across the horizon, played upon the hearts of the crew as they contemplated how best to navigate those foes, the very forces that sought to confine them, or vanquish them entirely. And yet, amidst this clockwork of doubt and trepidation, a glimmer of hope pulsed like shore leaves in the breeze, for pirates were more than mere ruffians. Skills honed through years of daring adventure endured, capable of transcending the chaos. Alliances amongst crews grew once again, sparked by the common thread of survival, and with this solidarity came an elevated sense of duty to oneself and those same shipmates who were intertwined in the cradle of the briny deep. In the fading light of day, as night consumed the sun's warmth, the camaraderie that birthed from shared experiences still held steadfast. Sailed tales echoed and resonated among the crew, an ever-evolving storybook filled with misadventures and close calls, as drinking rum became less a means of celebration and more a ritual, invoking bravery, igniting memories of triumph, and in some cases, serving as an anesthetic for the despair hovering on the edges of their wretched lives. Fortunately, pirates were not simply breathing embodiments of conflict. For within the tapestry of their existence, like the threads of a well-worn shroud, there sprawled interwoven threads of traditions and beliefs. Their hearts, while frosted with the chill of apprehension, pulsed with a spirit that sought to preserve the sense of freedom that granted them life upon the rolling waves. Gathering at the end of each day, they shared not dull regimens of anxious warfare alone, rather, they infused laughter and song into the conversations, combining them with the tales of blooded battles and plundered riches that recounted the essence of who they were. Despite the winds of imposition generating storms on the oceanic expanse, pirates embedded within their hearts the belief that storms too would eventually pass, for every night sorrow bore the promise of dawn. They vowed to retain their defiance, unyielding against the shadows stretching before them, mouths cracked but full of lore as visions of palm trees imbued scenes of grandeur, paintings alive where distant lands lay waiting to be explored. Yet, as France's walls echoed with the uncertainty of conflict far removed from their play, it was indeed the pirates, a motley crew with planks of wood as their throne, who grappled heedlessly with the haunting truth that their freedom faced an encroaching threat. Sensing time beginning to slip through the fingers like sand, memories seeped into soft discussions filled with nostalgia, evoking the fiery nights spent under wind-tossed sails regaling their good fortune before all was lost. Amidst the challenges, and with uncertainty crowning the crest of each wave, pirates gleamed like a dwindling ember in the night, even as those once blazing flames dwindled. Yet in those moments, they understood that life, despite heavy burdens, flows forward, a torrent intertwined with joy and despair, blurring the boundaries of yesterday and tomorrow. As you digest this tale woven through the ages, remember that echoes of the past often inform the present, and while times have evolved from the thrill of piracy to a quiet peace, it bears considering that the comfort of your pillow tonight shields you from the need to carry pistols or sharpened swords. You may glide among dreams enveloped in warmth and safety, a gift unearned by those who carved their legacies across the waves, often torn between the thrill of conquest and the relentless pursuit of freedom. When you slip into slumber, allow the lullabies of the high seas and the rustling of palm leaves to escort you into the embrace of rest, cradled by a world shaped by centuries of stories, struggles, and splendid adventures, none of which you need to navigate yourself tonight. Pirates, those intrepid souls of the open seas, were not only driven by the promise of riches and glory, they also embraced a rich tapestry of beliefs that guided their actions and formed the intricate fabric of their lives. With each tale whispered on the winds, the essence of superstition weaved its way through their daily routines, anchoring their bravado with caution. They claimed trinkets as symbols of luck, simple tokens like polished stones or salvaged coins held stories of fortune. The belief in omens flourished aboard their vessels, each fluttering bird or the swirling fog on the horizon interpreted with keen eyes. The ocean was a vast mistress, known for mercurial temperament and capricious ways. So, it was no wonder that for every storm tossed into their path, the pirates entrusted their fates to the divine, wherever they might find guidance. Some turned towards traditional law, invoking blessings from the Christian God, while others sought the ancient spirits that lingered in the shadows of their past. Voodoo, with its vibrant legends and potent rites, seeped into the lives of many, merging seamlessly with their rugged existence. Rituals before battles became commonplace, an attempt to bargain with the unseen forces that ruled their fates, each utterance of prayer mingling with ancient rites aimed at securing protection in perilous times. Beneath the wild, sun-drenched exterior, there thrived a code of conduct influenced by belief and tradition. Tattoos adorned the skin of many pirates, each marking a signifier of their journey, whether a fierce dragon or a gentle rose. These images told stories beyond mere decorations. Each inked line displayed a piece of their identity, perhaps even a hope or a second chance inscribed into permanence. Rituals of tattooing were shared events, a mingling of camaraderie and courage, the sting of the needle overshadowed by laughter and the intoxicating freedom of the moment. The marks of their lives became living tales etched in flesh, reminiscent of victories hard won and losses deeply felt. As the dusk settled over the Caribbean, the songs of the pirates filled the air, melodies that echoed the trials they faced and the memories they cherished. There was comfort in the shared lyrics outlining tales of treasure troves discovered beneath the waves, and camaraderie thrived in the arts, blending voices in harmony, forging unity, as the clinking of tankards kept time. Music acted as a balm for weary souls, the verses echoing memories of home, igniting sparks of nostalgia that lulled them into a reverie. In this sacred space, surrounded by fellow buccaneers, the heavy burdens of the past seemed lighter. Through song, they found solace and home. Families and friends they left behind were often remembered through stories shared by firelight, and as the flames danced in the night, whispers of loyalty rang true. Legends were forged from the mundane into something grand, transforming timid encounters into heroic accounts that would last for generations. Their narratives took on a salting of tales, each weaving through the tapestry of not just their own experiences but shared journeys, each experience contributing to the identity of the collective. These beliefs formed an unbreakable bond, a connection among disparate souls brought together by sea, sharing the same fears and dreams. Perhaps, as their vessels skimmed across the waves, the nights of plundering and revelry gained a deeper meaning amid the storm's wrath and alluring sea breezes. They were navigators of both ocean and existence, each day challenging them to reconcile the mythic with the mundane, balancing bounty with the dangers lurking just beneath the surface. And so, as we float delicately upon this intricate interplay between belief and reality, we recognize how those fleeting moments, those woven tales, remain in intimate conversation with modernity. A sense of continuity flows through us as we sleep, undisturbed by the chants of old, our lives much softer than theirs, cushioned by certainty instead of superstition. Think of the rituals of comfort, the security of indoor plumbing, always nearby, echoing loyalty to our creature comforts. So, as you slowly drift into slumber, let the gentle whispers of the past blend seamlessly with your dreams, and know that tonight, you are cradled safely, free from the burdens that once weighed heavily upon those rogue souls of the Caribbean. And should you dream of high seas adventures, may they come without the peril of a runaway cannonball, just the gentle bob of the waves beneath a tranquil night sky. Among the horizon's gentle embrace, various threads of belief wove their way into the fabric of pirate life, a tapestry colored by hope, fear, and the deep, unrelenting call of the sea. It is here that we find the rich, layered understandings that transcended simple superstition, providing a guiding compass of sorts for these rovers of the turquoise waters. The morning light filtered through the sails, kissing the weathered faces of men who relied not just on their weapons but also on unseen forces to guide their fates. Pirates often carried tokens designed to ward off ill fortune or ensure victorious plunder, each charm infused with its own history, trinkets fashioned from the remnants of shipwrecks or the feathers of birds that had crossed paths with fortune. The tales told in low voices spoke of sailors who donned lucky garments, whispering prayers to the spirits of the sea as they readied for battle. There was no room for doubt. Such rituals, minor in retrospect, provided comfort and clarity in a life lived under a constant veil of unpredictability. Tattoos, too, bore not only artistic expression but also deep-seated meanings, marks inked with whispers of luck and strength, stories drawn from the bloodlines of generations before. A swallow symbolized return and safe passage, while a skull might foretell both caution and bravery. Etched into their skin, these images served as talismans, anchoring their identities to the tales of heroism and loss they shared. Silently, they reminded each man aboard of the dangers they faced together, forging bonds through shared ink and blood. In the depths of the night, when the darkness encroached and the shadows danced in silence, the pirates turned to songs rich in myth and memory. These melodies, echoing through wooden halls and across moonlit decks, stitched together tales passed down from those who walked before them. Starlit gatherings celebrated not only victories on the seas but also moments of profound introspection. A simple refrain morphed into an epic saga, an ode to the dark depths and the enticing allure of hidden treasures, transforming their scattered journeys into a unified saga, an entwined collective consciousness. Before battles, many pirates would gather in a sacred circle, a ritualistic act that transcended mere preparation. They would clasp hands, eyes gleaming with anticipation and perhaps a touch of trepidation, invoking deities of luck and protection. The murmured incantations harmonized with the rustling waves, forming an almost theatrical performance of faith, resulting in fleeting moments where they felt untouchable by the very sea that could swallow them whole. It is in these instances that crass bravado mingled seamlessly with heartfelt reverence, a duality that encapsulated the essence of their existence. As dusk descended, the stars would begin to twinkle. They often gazed upward, faces illuminated by the gentle moonlight, finding inspiration in the vast cosmos above. Each constellation carried heavy wisdom, far more than mere astronomical guides, and they saw stories written long before their time. A constellation represented a warning, another offered hope. These celestial bodies became the pathfinders of numerous souls who journeyed across turbulent seas. Here, among the crewmates, laughter entwined with solemnity, they found strength not just in each other's presence but also in the reassurance that unseen guardians watched over them, guiding their endeavors. Religion among pirates was an intricate blend of organized faith and the spiritual folklore born from their journeys. Christian beliefs were often intermixed with various local mythologies, influenced by cultures encountered along their perilous courses. In the Caribbean, where the sun warmed diverse peoples under its golden rays, the existence of voodoo reframed the landscape, altering the exchanges between crew and spirit. Rituals influenced by these elements manifested in pragmatic forms, oscillating between reverence and wonder. Sacred ceremonies might be simple, a drop of rum poured out as an offering to the great beyond, or feather adornments gathered from the winds of fortune. It also found itself in performances imbued with vibrant energy, dances that summoned deities meant to ward off the tempests of the sea. In rough weather, rituals calmed quaking hearts, while symphonies of primal beats declared unity amid chaos. The sea, their eternal companion, must be honored, appeased for the gifts bestowed or borrowed. Each ritual served as a reminder that life was fragile. Preserved in those fleeting moments was both acknowledgement and defiance. Gravestones of fallen shipmates dotted the remote isles along the Caribbean, simple yet laden with meaning, often adorned with token offerings of flowers or tiny trinkets left behind as whispers of gratitude for lives shared. Stories were inscribed in the memories of their shipmates, fading yet persistent, the price of lost youth. These were engraved upon the hearts of those still living. Thus, they continued to navigate life, all while carrying these spirits along with their collective memories, fusing the past with their ever-evolving present. As we meander through this narrative of belief and community, we may find reflection upon our own lives. Consider the rituals of comfort we fashion, the whispered reassurances we offer ourselves amid uncertainty. Within the vastness of time, our lives may differ in circumstance, yet the yearning for connection remains unchanged. When you lower your head upon your provided pillow, know that you possess the warmth of soft blankets, undisturbed by the weight of cabin walls or the scent of salt mingled with gunpowder. May you find solace in the knowledge that tonight, tucked under the stars, your dreams can flutter freely, untroubled by the voices of epics long told. Let us now, as gently as one might shift a sail upon a windless day, segue into the next chapter of those proud souls, the enduring spirit of pirates. Their beliefs and rituals, steeped in history, united them amidst treacherous journeys, illuminating cobbled paths through chaotic seas and creating an unchained legacy that can still be felt in the tales spun today. The art of being a pirate was steeped in both practical skill and a profound cultural tradition, each sewn together like the fabric of a weathered sail. It was not merely about the cutlass or the cunning. The heart of piratical life lay in navigation, an intricate dance with the stars and the vast expanse of the ocean that stretched endlessly before them. Pirates were no strangers to the mysteries of the sea, seamlessly blending knowledge with instinct as they charted their courses across shimmering waters. With a worn map sketched in enigmatic symbols, these seafaring souls learned to read the signs of wind and wave. The subtle lapping of the tide against the hull became a language of its own. Certain tides bore news of promising shores filled with riches or whispers of danger lurking just beneath the surface. The compass was their loyal companion, a constant reminder of home amidst the never-ending blue. Each creased map told stories of exploration, of seeking treasure hidden in the folds of uncharted isles, the promise of adventure lighting a fire in their hearts. Yet, navigation was only one brushstroke in the grand canvas of their existence. The design of their flags, each one a declaration of identity, fluttered proudly against the horizon. Whether it was the notorious Jolly Roger, famous for striking fear in the hearts of merchant sailors, or a more subtle standard reflecting a crew's unique spirit, every flag carried with it a narrative of mottos and dreams. These symbols provided a sense of belonging, a culture forged under the harshest of elements and the unyielding sun. Beyond the practical, there lay a richness in the art of storytelling, a vital thread binding them together. Tales glimmered like distant lanterns on the horizon, tales brimming with adventure and camaraderie, rivalries, and shared fates. Gathered around flickering lanterns, amidst the shadows cast by the sails, they spun yarns of legendary exploits over mugs of rum, speaking of dangerous encounters and spectacular victories. The night may have been painted in darkness, but their voices filled the air with dreams of wealth and immortalization, vivid scenes drawing laughter, gasps, and camaraderie. Amidst the laughter, one could hear the strains of songs echoing through time. With each refrain sung, songs spoke not only of triumph but also of loss, uniting past and present. Pirates may have roamed the seas as free spirits, but their roots were deep, intertwined with melodies reminiscent of their homelands. The notes of Irish jigs mingled with tales from the shores of Africa, creating a unique musical tapestry that fluttered like the flags atop their masts, echoing the multicultural exchange that defined their lives. Their crafts extended beyond navigation and songs. The artistry found in their tattoos spoke volumes, inked intricately upon the skin as testimonies of lived experiences. Each design bore significance, a compass to guide them, a heart to remember lost comrades, or a nautical star symbolizing their bond to the ocean. Body art served as a canvas of identity and resilience written in all the colors of the sea, a permanent reminder of journeys taken and those yet to come. Through these expressions, we find not just a glimpse into the lives of pirates but profound echoes of our own existence. In every story shared around our own dinner tables, through the music we connect with, we share fragments of ourselves, preserving our essence as we navigate the waters of life. As you sink deeper into slumber tonight, allow the rhythm of your own tales to flow through your dreams, nurturing connections that bind you to the present and past alike. Yet, with the winds that guided them, came the turbulent moments that could change the very fabric of their existence. As they raised their flags, the tensions with rival gangs or the naval powers on the prowl for their heads surged and fell like the waves they so deftly rode. The art of being a pirate was balanced on a knife's edge, a swirling mix of camaraderie and rivalries, drawing lines in shifting sand under the watchful eyes of the sea. The essence of piracy, thus wrapped in adventure and artistry, provides a charming allure still bewitching contemporary imaginations. Echoes of pirate legends ripple through time, captivating hearts long after the sun sets on their heydays. When you recline to end your day, nestled in the comforts of your own serene life, think of those who once sailed the seas freely, unburdened by the constraints of civilization, their laughter disappearing into the horizon, where legends quietly unfold amidst the sighing waves. As we ponder these wandering souls, perhaps, we also marvel at their legacy, a tapestry woven with the threads of daring escapades, creativity, and fervent community bonds. The sea, with its inviting call, still remits whispers of adventure, still beckons dreamers and wanderers alike, painting a canvas for all who dare to soar upon its currents. Every corner of their world shrouded by the salty embrace of the ocean served as an unending invitation to discover. In our modern lives, we encounter the remarkable fascination with the very concept of pirates, shaping not only how we view history but also how we understand aspiration and freedom. We may seek treasures of our own creation, enriching ourselves with experiences rather than gold doubloons. The art of being a pirate now echoes through each new generation, stretching from the wary eyes of those witnessing early phenomena to vivacious dreams seen hovering in the minds of modern storytellers. So take comfort, dear dreamer, in the narratives that transgress time, your own if you should choose to share, tales creating ripples across the vast ocean of human experience, allowing your spirit to flow freely like the sea breeze. As the memories of those vibrant pirates rise and fall like gentle waves, may you sleep soundly, warmed by the knowledge that while their chains have loosened, your own adventures await in sleep's tender embrace. As the night wraps around you, remember, no amount of rum holds a candle to the warmth of a well-worn blanket, and perhaps this night, you'll drift into a realm of dreams filled with glimpses of horizons still unexplored. The art of being a pirate unfolds intricately against the backdrop of the vast, azure expanse of the Caribbean Sea. These rough and rugged sailors thrived on their own unique language, forged through camaraderie and lived experiences. Each utterance, a peculiar blend of nautical jargon and regional dialects, created a colorful tapestry, rich with meaning. A quickened pace defined their speech, mimicking the rhythm of life aboard the ship, a quick exchange, a needed rally, bustling with a sense of belonging that echoed around the wooden decks. Words morphed and evolved like the waves themselves. Terms like landlubber were a playful yet pointed jibe directed at those unaccustomed to the sea's embrace, while scallywag suggested a winking camaraderie, a rogue spirit unmatched in its allure. Among their ranks, shared phrases held the weight of rituals, expressions of trust and shared secrets glimmered between them like hidden treasures. The necessity for communication only deepened in intensity when navigating treacherous waters or planning their next endeavors. Coded messages, scrawled across worn parchment, guided the crew towards newfound fortunes hidden behind the horizon. Subtle meanings lurked in well-placed words, a kind of linguistic camouflage that would keep their secrets tightly bound, yet eagerly shared amongst trusted comrades. In these moments, the art of their expression took flight as they exchanged tales of fate and fortune, of treasures discovered, or lost beneath the nimble fingers of fortune. Soon, even those passing through their spirited domain could sense the lingo's infectious cadence. Nascent seafarers would wonder at the strange dialect that danced on the tongues of these salt-sprayed individuals, marveling at the richness woven into their vocabulary. The sound, relatively foreign yet oddly soothing, which beckoned like the waves lapping at the ship's hull, created a unique resonance among their eclectic crew, wherein each word sung the praises of shared life on the high seas. And in the midst of their rugged lifestyle lay an unyielding sense of identity, often magnified through ink tales engraved upon their very skins. Tattoos, abundant and vibrant, told tales of valor, luck, and adventure. A compass roped across the arm signified direction, while an anchor could speak to the yearning for stability amidst a ceaselessly shifting world. Each etching and mark represented initiation into the pirate fraternity, binding them closer within a canvas of camaraderie beyond mere words. The fluid exchange of language often brightened nights aboard the ship as they spun yarns that melted away the shadows created by fading daylight. As the sun dipped into the horizon, the crew would gather beneath the twinkling vault of stars, the flickering glow of lanterns illuminating faces flushed with excitement. Laughter mingled with stories brimming over with heroic undertones, tales punctuated by triumphs, losses, and dreams of treasure waiting just beyond the horizon. Even as these stories traversed the deck, they were soon overshadowed by the throaty expulsions of sea shanties rising into the air, carries meaning beyond their playful natures. Swelling harmonies of music intertwined these time-honored ballads, spiriting forth, letting the men escape, if only for a moment, from the hardship of their reality, a chance to dream again of freedom and the romance of the open sea. The rhythms echoed through the night as they sang of winds that kissed the sails, guiding their adventures from isle to isle, the ocean's pulse eternally shaping their journey. Transitioning from the winds of language to the winds of governance, the transitory nature of pirate life wove seamlessly into their layered society and collective identity. As colonial powers sought to possess the Caribbean's enchanting islands, a shift emerged. Laws derived from the British Empire began to tighten their grip upon those seeking solace amidst the waves. Territorial waters became battlegrounds of empire, and pirates found themselves toggling between the grass of freedom and the umber of authority. The regulations, etched into bureaucratic legislation, stood stark against the swashbuckling ideal peering from beneath the surface of the sea. Colonists, navigating the rough waters of governance, often paid the price, bearing an invisible weight as the empire's imposing structure bled into their everyday lives. The murmurs of resentment stirred among those shackled by laws designed for control, an aching dichotomy against the freedom cherished by the outlaws themselves. The pirates, the bane of colonial life and the heroes of their own shattered arcs, navigated through this clash gracefully, wielding their own codes of conduct amidst the turmoil. A mingling of camaraderie and rivalry simultaneously flourished and bordered them in an uneasy balance strained beneath reform's steady pressure. Polite life on the islands now wove through the fabric of threat, the wealth amassed from plunder generating an undeniable contrast between the soaring living conditions of the successful pirate and the strained survival of the locals. This stark juxtaposition carved deeper divisions between the social classes, often inciting tension along the bustling wharves and dingy taverns. Merchants harbored resentment as they cloaked themselves in concern about the relentless threat of piracy. Behind the creaking doors of establishments, stories rippled with exchanges of clandestine whispers, matters perhaps discussed but seldom acknowledged directly. The unease coursed through the Caribbean as pirates, glimmering with daring charm, resisted the authority clenched in their jaws, leaving uncertainty to ripple through the settled populace. Yet, as we reflect on the shared words and bonds forged beneath pirate laughter, it is tempting to wonder how the legacy of these debonair rogues remains imprinted upon our own modern experiences. The romanticized notion of pirates, shrouded in stories and flickering cinematic adaptations, continues to dance through the imaginations of every generation. The echoes of the high seas resonate, calling forth the same spirits that once braved tempestuous waters. Our world, cushioned with creature comforts far removed from the ceaseless swells and salty kisses of the ocean, beckons us to unlock our own hidden treasures, framed not in gold but in connection, story, and freedom. So as you sink into the embrace of slumber, perhaps gently imagining the salty wind tousling your hair while you sail towards sleeping shores, remember this: you rest comfortably on land, far from the perils of piracy while wrapped in the softness of inner exploration. For tonight, you can find in your dreams the thrill of adventure unfettered from the ambitions or conflicts that once defined a pirate's life. And as you drift softly into the unknown realms, allow the weight of centuries to temper to nothing but soft shadows. After all, your biggest challenge during the night may just be to avoid drooling on your pillow, quite the honorable endeavor compared to the notorious lives of yore. In the quietude of the night, amidst the stars and hidden treasures, you too find a place in this continuum, where sea breezes still stir the imagination and whisper the secrets of what has been while hinting at what can be. So, as gentle dreams call out to you, let the tales of pirates linger sweetly in your heart, painting the shores of your slumber with thoughts of rugged seafaring adventures that reflect not only history, but the very essence of human experience itself. The waves continued their gentle serenade as the sun arched higher in the sky, bringing warmth and light to the vast, turquoise expanse of the Caribbean. The gentle lapping of water against the hull of a pirate ship masked many underlying tensions, echoing the ceaseless battles between freedom and control, rebellion and authority. It was within these sun-kissed seas that the British Empire began to tighten its grip, casting a shadow over the once daring lives of pirates who roamed freely. The Royal Navy, a robust force clad in the colors of the Crown, became increasingly vigilant. Their ships patrolled the mighty waters, scanning the horizon with eyes trained for the billowing sails of pirate vessels that once ruled the waves with reckless abandon. The very air crackled with the tension between hunters and hunted, the delicate dance of cat and mouse performed upon the azure canvas of the Caribbean. The pirate's way of life, a glorious tapestry woven from threads of adventure and danger, began to fray at the edges. For every bold chase of a Spanish galleon, there lingered a looming threat of capture or defeat. Pirates learned to keep one eye on the horizon, searching for the gleaming silhouettes of British warships, their presence a stark reminder of the cost of freedom in these bounteous waters. Cloth unfurled in the breeze, the stunning sail of a pirate ship would flutter doggedly even as the looming shapes of British men-of-war slowly appeared, monolithic and determined. The creaking wood would groan beneath the weight of uncertainty, the shed shivers coursing through the crew as they scanned the sea for signs of pursuit. The thrill of freedom often tasted bitter when compounded by ever-watchful eyes. Naval tactics, honed to perfection, meant that all pirate vessels had to remain ever vigilant. The Royal Navy embraced strategies that combined both speed and maneuverability. They would often employ the element of surprise, striking swiftly from concealment and employing the wind to their advantage, while pirates, reliant on the power of their crews and the swift handling of their ships, faced disadvantage with each encounter. The challenge of evasion turned each day into a dance of skill and daring, where the price of miscalculation was steep, the risk of capture always palpable. Naval engagements became as common as the sun rising over the sea. The haunting sound of cannon fire echoed across the waves, a groaning, thunderous reminder of the line drawn between life and the end of it. These moments served to underline the fragility of their existence, a tapestry of camaraderie woven together, yet ever susceptible to the smallest fraying of threads. And what of those pirates, once thought to be untouchable in their revelry? As they gripped the wheels of their ships, steered through treachery and gusts of wind, they now found themselves grappling not only with the pursuit of treasure but with the growing specter of their own demise. The tales they spun of daring exploits and narrow escapes would come to rest on increasingly inevitable conclusions. After all, laughter is ever so different when it is punctuated by the fear of the gallows. Yet amidst the tightening naval presence, piracy danced in a vibrant duality, a mix of threat and adventure. It was a precarious existence, filled with tailors and storytellers, yet underscored with a burgeoning despair. Rum-soaked tales echoed through the dimly lit taverns, where comrades first shared laughter and later shared the grim acceptance that their way of life was becoming a whispered legend, soon to be dust in the winds of change. As the British aimed to reclaim their seafaring dominion, the pirates became cunning in their defensive strategies, relying on deception as much as bravery. They fashioned their codes, while laughter echoed beneath the darkened skies, echoing the rebellious spirit amidst the shadows of uncertainty. Much like gusts of wind that would abruptly shift course, their fortunes often changed beneath the same moonlit skies, that now felt heavier, as if the very heavens bore witness to their plight. With each passing tide, the British Empire pushed forth their naval power, flanking the insatiable greed of pirate crews with ships that boasted cannonballs and machinery designed for containment rather than freedom. As tales of grand voyages and daring feats echoed in local lore, the stark realities of the sea began to draw lines that cleaved the hearts of those who once reveled in their sovereignty. Ultimately, the naval power wielded by the Empire was relentless. The water glistening blue as ever bore witness to the catching breath between exaggerated tales, those shared back in the taverns of Nassau over rum and dried fish. For as the month passed and the tension grew ever thicker, the ghosts of the once bold thieves of the sea began to feel the tightening noose of both consequence and mortality. In the perilous cat-and-mouse illusion that unfolded upon those picturesque gales, the true legacy of piracy began to shimmer with nostalgia. Even as pirates were bested by British sailors, who wielded cannons and discipline, in the hearts of many pirates remained the essence of freedom. They embodied the spirit of rebellion drawn forth from age-old narratives, the timeless struggle between those who strive against authority and the inevitable encroachment of that authority. The scent of salt mingled with a touch of desperation as whispers of captured pirate crews began to fill the air. Indeed, the world of piracy had shifted beneath the weight of history's hands, each printed word marking a comprehensive shift in humanity's relation to the sea. And thus with every glance to the horizon, uncertainty and nostalgia danced together, woven into the very fabric of that unique world of pirates, forever indelible. In reflecting on these shifting tides, it draws us to consider our own lives today. Muffled as they may be beneath the cushioned comforts of modernity, there exists an echo of that timeless dance, every decision governed by the unseen chains of authority, but without the looming fears of the past. As you drift toward sleep tonight, let that thought settle softly, anchored in the understanding that while life today may be less daring than a pirate's, it is adorned with many comforts, like the beautiful invention of a cozy bed. After all, isn't it comforting to know that we now have heating to ward off the chill of an uncertain sea? The legacy of pirates stretches far beyond the horizon where their ships once sailed, imprinted in the collective memory of a world that finds itself romantically enchanted by the tales of swashbuckling heroes and insatiable adventures. With each flicker of candlelight reflecting dimly in the taverns of modern cities, the stories swirl about like the smoke rings escaping the lips of seasoned storytellers. What was once a tumultuous existence determined by the toss of the sea and the clamor for gold, now figures in novels and films that delight the imaginations of countless people, assuring us that the spirit of rebellion remains alive, if merely as ink on a page or echoes in laughter shared among friends over drinks. The vibrant days of piracy, marked by treasures sought after and blood feuds stirred on sun-drenched shores, have left behind a cultural imprint more profound than mere memory. Modern pirates exist not at sea, but rather in the spirit of countless individuals who dare to defy convention in their own lives. They navigate the murky waters of societal expectations, adrift on crafts of ambition and dreams, much like those marauding sailors of yore, envisioning adventure and wealth, or perhaps just a life filled with more than the ordinary. Consider for a moment the inundation of piracy in popular culture, pirate flags adorned with skulls and bones, the melodies of sea shanties echoing through the air, and endless parades of youthful imitations donning eye patch and feigned bravado as they engage in spontaneous adventures, vying for the thrill of the unexpected. These symbols, these emblems of roguish charm and adventure, replace the anguish of raiding and fleeing with playful banter and joy. Children and adults alike find solace in their narratives, drawn to the idea of sailing unencumbered by the everyday mundane, and each tale uttered adds another layer to the tapestry of piracy's fascinating legacy. Yet, as we bask in this reverberating nostalgia, we cannot overlook the more somber repercussions of their bold endeavors. The lives lost on both sides, the pirates and their pursuers, ushered in an era of stricter laws and maritime enforcement, changing the tides of freedom into something less effervescent. The Royal Navy, that formidable guardian of British interests, ultimately quelled the fire bred from piracy, leading to a period characterized not by freedom, but by subjugation and constraint. In the dimly lit corners of colonial society, whispers of pirates may have persisted as romantic figures, but the reality was far less heroic. Their legacy is marred with conflict and sorrow, and as we revel in their legends, we must also acknowledge the fragile lifeblood beneath those resilient tales. Throughout history, the representations of pirates reflect the ultimate paradox: characters admired for their daring yet condemned for their lawlessness. This intricate dance of admiration and abomination caused many to marvel at the duality of piratical life, even as the lives of those who lived on the edge were exposed to visceral unpredictability. The allure of piracy assists in shaping perceptions of freedom itself, how it melds with obedience and civil responsibility. Today, as we swipe through our devices and gaze upon carefully curated images of escapades, we are reminded of the delicate threads that weave past narratives into the fabric of our own existence. Within this contemplation lies an understanding that while the golden age of piracy waned, the essence of those men and women who took to the seas remains indelibly marked in history. The shimmering waters of the Caribbean, where they once plundered, now serve as both tomb and temple. They stand witness to the unfolding of human endeavor, where glories were sought amid treachery and the innocents often lost amid pursuit. It is in this backdrop of misty memories and tranquil waters that we find a semblance of peace, a consolation perhaps knowing that though they may no longer sail, the ripples of their legacy endure. So, as you prepare for sleep, remember that while the world may have changed drastically from the pirate-infested Caribbean of centuries ago, you too sail your own sea. Each decision like a wave, sometimes smooth and serene, other times tumultuous and crashing, but always moving you forward. And when night enfolds you in its quiet embrace, rest easy knowing that the feathers of comfort surround you, built upon the lessons learned from those bold souls who dared to seek freedom on the perilous seas. With dreams of adventure lacing your thoughts, you can drift into slumber, perhaps accompanied by the ethereal music of an imagined pirate shanty, echoing softly in the recesses of your mind, far removed from the heartbeats of conflict and strife. When morning comes, you may awaken not in a tavern lost to time but in a world where your own adventures await, firmly on the right side of the law. And as the sun rises, just think, in your dreams, you may discover treasures far more valuable than those ever sought on the high seas, the joy of living freely in a world colored by comfort and the quiet embrace of a warm, inviting bed.